Hi everyone, today's video is going to be a bit different because I will be reviewing two games in one video. Today's topic is Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. I played these games about a year ago after I bought them on Steam, and I gotta say, despite the obvious issues at hand, when certain moments in the game delivered, they delivered. These aren't particularly my favorite video games of all time, but I thought it would be fun to dissect these games and see what made me smile, cry, laugh. Trust me, we'll get there eventually. Also, to be specific, I'm playing Sonic Adventure DX. So let's dive into some of the stupidest yet most fun-filled games Sonic has to offer. Sonic Adventure was revealed at the Tokyo International Forum on August 22nd, 1998 for the Sega Dreamcast as the first full-fledged 3D Sonic game, being kept discreet before despite the leaks of gameplay. December 23 rolled around, bam, a new Sonic game for Japan. Oh, and the best part? Copious amounts of glitches. To be fair, they actually made a smart decision afterwards and made a deal with Hollywood Videos to try renting Sega Dreamcast at Hollywood video stores with a limited edition Sonic Adventure game. Now they could take criticism to heart and fix all the whatnots before releasing it September 9th, 1999 in North America and September 23rd the same year in Europe. Sega wanted to sell 1 million copies overall and somehow sold 2.5 million, and now I realize people like buying games that are broken. No, seriously, this game was big. Computer and video games rated it a 5-star game. There was even a manufacturing facility problem where the game couldn't load for a good number of people in North America, and this is 5 stars? Okay, so I know I've done nothing but shoot this game in the leg so far, but let's take a look at all the aspects of the game. Let's start with the visual stuff. Okay, so points for the character models, at least in DX, as they actually look fairly detailed for the time they came out. The textures also don't look too shabby, but of course, no game can have models and images without animation. I think you know where I'm going with this. If you've been on the internet for more than 2 nanoseconds, you'll know these cutscenes are incredibly memorable and funny for all the wrong reasons. It is genuinely impressive to have the knowledge that people at Sega got paid to animate these absolute garbage shit shows of video game cutscenes. It is so putrid, it's comedic in a stupid sense. You know Gen Z humor. The less it makes sense, the funnier it is. Mouth movements are light years away from matching what the character is actually saying. Even the regular animations for moving character models are so stiff and lifeless. The script writing is awful, and the acting for some of the characters, specifically Tails, is not practiced close to enough. They couldn't possibly screw up these cutscenes any more than they did, and I am so happy these exist. Surprisingly enough, these cutscenes do a particularly good job at telling the story. Speaking of the story, it starts with Eggman doing research as he usually does. He learns about Chaos, a god of destruction who watched over the Chao 3,000 years ago, who got attacked by echidnas. It tried to destroy their echidna civilization in anger, but got trapped in the Master Emerald with an echidna girl called Tikal the Echidna before anything could happen. So Eggman decided to use it for the destruction of Station Square to turn it into Robotnik Land by feeding the Chaos Emeralds to Chaos and making it slowly stronger for each emerald it consumes. And of course, Sonic and Tails try to stop them. But there's also independent stories for Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Big the Cat, and E102, aka Gamma. In Tails' story, he spends most of his time with Sonic in his story, but later branches off and stops an Eggman missile from exploding in Station Square. In Knuckles' story, Chaos destroys the Master Emerald, and Knuckles must retrieve the pieces to fix it. In Amy's story, a giant robot named Zero is sent to chase and capture Amy. Amy eventually gets kidnapped and befriends Gamma. In Big's story, his best friend Froggy, who for some arbitrary-ass reason has the tail of Chaos, decides to run off. Big goes on fishing adventures to save Froggy, but Gamma snatches him for Dr. Eggman because Froggy ate a Chaos Emerald. In Gamma's story, it tries to be a worthy robot for Eggman to serve on board the Egg Carrier as a new robot from Dr. Eggman's E-Series. He later walks into the wrong room by accident and sees his predecessor, E101, aka Beta, being dismantled and reconstructed into something greater. Gamma eventually encounters Amy Rose and helps her escape. He realizes he doesn't want to work for Dr. Eggman and decides to destroy all the other E-Series robots. After completing all the main stories, you unlock the Supersonic story, where Chaos gets all 7 Chaos Emeralds and turns into Perfect Chaos. Perfect Chaos destroys Station Square and rebels against Eggman, although Chaos only absorbs the negative energy of the Chaos Emeralds. So, using the positive energy of the Chaos Emeralds, Sonic goes supersonic, big surprise, and defeats Perfect Chaos. So, that was all the story elements. But, what about the music? Well, I mean, I don't even know if it's possible for a Sonic game to not have an absolutely banger soundtrack at this point, and this one's no different. Every music piece fits perfectly with its area and makes for an awesome experience. Sonic Adventure has different playing styles for each character, but the thing is, the gameplay is a very mixed bag. On one hand, you've got the great controlling characters like Sonic, who runs, jumps, spin dashes, and the whole shaboo. Tails and Knuckles do pretty much the same thing, but instead of spin dashes, Tails has a tail smack and Knuckles has a 3-combo punch. Tails and Knuckles are also generally a little slower than Sonic, I think, and have the respective climbing, gliding, and flying abilities. But on the other spectrum, you have either the mediocre controlling characters or the horrible ones. Gamma is kind of in an interesting spot control-wise because his brand new levels actually work pretty well with his control scheme, but they also reuse stages from other stories for his story, which don't work quite as well with his controls. Oh, but they just had to mess up Big and Amy big time. No pun intended. Big himself doesn't control particularly badly. It's his fishing that, I'm sure you know, everyone has a problem with. You can get it in the right spot to catch Froggy if the controls for weaving the line left and right decide to respond properly, on top of the camera constantly going in different places, which throws all your strategy out the window, and even if you do somehow get Froggy to notice your bait, it's pure stupid luck if he actually decides to bite it and maintain it. Meanwhile, Amy consists of running extremely slow, but you can use the Pico Pico Hammer to attack. The problem? Literally everything. If you aren't running at full speed, she stops dead in her tracks and smacks her hammer, which takes way too long to actually predict to hit enemies anyway, on top of just losing every ounce of your speed. If you are running at full speed, you smack your hammer so hard as to send Amy launching in the air, which throws off your coordination completely due to the camera not facing in the general direction of the enemy anymore. Speaking of the camera, it is very hit or miss in this game. For the most part in this game, it's fine enough, but sometimes if you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, it can't really keep up with you that properly. I'm also obligated to mention that the level design is pretty good too, and that you can get certain upgrades for certain characters in certain locations at certain times. Some of these are required to progress, some of these are for funsies, and to make your game easier supposedly. Again, something I should probably mention is the extreme amount of jank in this game. It's not quite as bad as 06, but not far off when it wants to be. On top of chasing Dr. Eggman, there are Chow Gardens you can visit. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do to raise a Chow, but I didn't really stick around for too long, as I've never really been a pet simulator kind of person. Something to note is that you can use the animals you've been collecting while destroying robots to give Chow certain appearances and abilities. After upgrading these abilities, you can even enter races with them. Oh, I forgot. So each level has a ranking you can get depending on how many points you collect throughout, your end goal ring count, and your time spent in each stage. These rankings go from C to A, and they're how you collect all the emblems in the game to unlock everything. So on top of the main stuff, we have a little bit of side whatevers thrown in the mix. We have trial mode, which is just playing the stage again, which will probably be used to get all the emblems, and mission mode, which unlocks after beating a character's story, which allows you to play 60 missions. The missions are pretty basic, like bring whatever here. If you get all 130 emblems in the game, you unlock Metal Sonic in trial mode, where he plays exactly the same as Sonic, and you can only use him in Sonic stages. Sorry to disappoint, but that's not something I'm going to do anytime soon. Something quite unique you can do is unlock Game Gear Sonic titles such as Sonic Chaos or Sonic Drift by getting emblems and completing missions. Again, I'm not doing this, because if I really wanted to play these games, I could probably just pirate it, because I highly doubt Sega would care at all. So that's Sonic Adventure. Poorly optimized, but nonetheless exciting experience every avid Sonic fan should try out at least once. Yeah, it's in need of an iron out, but what makes it bad is also what makes it good, because a lot of the issues are more often than not hilarious, and can be forgiven for mostly fun gameplay, decent visuals, and all the side content. Well, it's time to take a look into Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic Adventure 2 was showcased at E3 2000, and later on their website as the last Sonic game for the Sega Dreamcast and a celebration of Sonic's 10th anniversary. They later posted screenshots of the game on May 30th, 2001. It was then released in the US on June 19th, then everywhere else on June 23rd of that same year. It was received fairly well by critics, as the gameplay variety, visuals, and audio were praised, but the camera, voice acting, and plot were criticized by some. I bet people were probably surprised by such a high-quality game coming out only 2 years after the original, and I'm also sure they were happy to have a Dreamcast Sonic title to come out without any glitches, because this time, Sega finally found out What play testing was. Truly a remarkable discovery for Sega that day. Man, they even came out with Sonic Adventure 2 Battle for the Nintendo GameCube the same year as the Dreamcast version. This thing is oozing cash. I am not joking when I say that either. This game is sitting at 1.7 million units sold for the GameCube version alone, making it the best-selling third-party game for the GameCube. 1.7 million though? That's rookie numbers, because counting the Dreamcast and GameCube version, this game sits at a whopping 2.8 million copies sold, which is pure insanity for a game that's still rough around the edges. Alright, let's jump into visuals. So, already, these character models are phenomenal compared to the first game. Every model and texture is brilliantly done and makes you feel like you're actually in the place you're exploring. The cutscenes are way better as well. They're still not entirely animated too well, but they still convey the story well, and they're just stupid enough to the point of them still being memorable and hilarious. Also, shoutouts to Stamp Cube for making quite possibly the most hilarious dub of all time. Mouth movements still don't match what the character is actually saying quite well again, but the animation for the characters themselves is leagues better and is filled with more life. Still not that great, but a huge improvement nonetheless. Something interesting to note is that in the Sonic Adventure cutscenes, the characters take like 5 years to talk after another character talks, and in the Sonic Adventure 2 cutscenes, everybody's cutting each other off. Even the script writing has been improved a bit, but I swear, Connor Bringus did an absolutely disgusting job voicing Tails. It is some of the worst acting I have ever heard. Alright, so before we dive into the story, I should let you know that this is one hell of a loud story. So buckle up, and I'll put a timestamp in the video for skipping purposes. Ready? Okay, so Eggman finds the diary of his long since passed away grandfather, Professor Gerald Robotnik, and learns about a secret weapon. He then infiltrates a gun facility and uses a Chaos Emerald to open a compartment, revealing the ultimate life form, Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow offers help to Eggman and tells him to meet him in the main control room on the Ark, an abandoned space research facility. He goes to Central City to look for a Chaos Emerald and meet up with Sonic after finding it. Sonic gets mistaken as Shadow by Gun, who has been looking for Shadow after he stole the Chaos Emerald. We then find Rouge the Bat and Knuckles bickering over the possession of the Master Emerald, but Eggman tries to steal it in the midst of the argument. Knuckles punches the Master Emerald to pieces, which he now must look for, claiming it was to prevent Eggman from stealing the Master Emerald. Eggman returns to the Ark and is greeted by Shadow, who tells Eggman about the Eclipse Cannon, a super weapon created by Gerald. It's capable of destroying an entire planet if the 7 Chaos Emeralds are put into the slots shown in the cutscene. Rouge then enters the scene and offers Eggman and Shadow a Chaos Emerald so she can help them look for more. Amy and Tails head off to rescue Sonic from prison, while Eggman's trio obtains 3 emeralds on Prison Island. Eggman proceeds to detail how Earth will get struck by an eclipse cannon in an old broadcast and blows up half the goddamn moon as a demonstration of the eclipse cannon's power at 6 Chaos Emeralds. Then the Sonic Squad is using one of the Chaos Emeralds to track down the rest on the Ark by tagging along with Eggman's space shuttle to hitch a ride to the Ark. But of course, as luck would have it, Sonic the dumbass hog put the Master Emerald shards in the top compartment of the space shuttle, and the space shuttle hit a meteoroid on the way there, opening the top compartment. Of course, Knuckles can't join Sonic and the others now because he has to look for the shards. Rouge spots Knuckles on a search for the rest of the shards, which leads them to fighting over them. After Knuckles saves Rouge from a pit of lava, Rouge gives up and hands over the shards to Knuckles, and Knuckles restores the Master Emerald. Now, cut back to the Sonic trio on the Ark, where Tails tells Sonic of the fake Chaos Emerald he created, detailing it as having the same wavelength and properties as the real deal, but slightly less powerful. When Sonic goes to put the fake in the Eclipse Cannon, Eggman threatens Amy and Tails' lives, to which Sonic returns to rescue them both. When he returns, Eggman tells Sonic to drop the emerald and back off, to which Sonic follows through since he still has the fake. Unfortunately, Eggman isn't about to get tricked by a fake emerald, and surprise traps Sonic in a container that he launches into space, set to detonate explosives in due time. Before Sonic is to be presumed dead, Sonic tells Tails he's counting on him before his launch, and after getting shot out, Tails details that it was his first time Sonic ever asked him to do anything, and that he won't give up, so he fights Eggman. Sonic uses the power of Chaos Control with the fake emerald to escape the space pod, while Shadow tracks him down again. Eggman eventually slips away from Tails and Amy to put the last Chaos Emerald in the Eclipse Cannon, but for some reason, the Ark starts to fall towards Earth at great speed. And we get a pre-recorded message of Gerald tied to a chair by chains, detailing that he programmed the Ark to start falling to Earth if the emeralds were ever put in the Eclipse Cannon, as a way to take revenge on Gunn for ruining his research and killing off his colleagues and his granddaughter, Maria. So everyone excluding Shadow gets to work on stopping the Ark from falling. Amy also gets left behind and sees Shadow, to which she tells him to go help the others in stopping the Ark from falling. This causes Shadow to remember the last moments on Ark before being shot out into space towards Earth, as Maria tells him that her last wish was for Shadow to give mankind happiness. Shadow heads off and catches up with Sonic and Knuckles, where they meet the Bio-Lizard, a prototype of the ultimate life form. Shadow takes care of the Bio-Lizard, while Sonic and Knuckles head up to the altar behind them so he can deactivate the Chaos Emeralds with the Master Emerald. But the Bio-Lizard uses Chaos Control to fuse with the Eclipse Cannon, which keeps the Ark falling to Earth. Sonic and Shadow then go Super to defeat the Bio-Lizard. After defeating the Bio-Lizard, they then have to use Chaos Control to put the Ark back into a stable position in space. But unfortunately, Shadow's super form eventually drains dry, and he starts to fall back to Earth, happy to fulfill his life goal, the promise he made to Maria before she died. Everyone on Earth celebrates the madness stopping, and our heroes and villains on the Ark detail things about their life while the credits roll. Sonic talks to Rouge about Shadow being a true hero. Eggman talks to Tails about he always looked up to his grandfather, Gerald, as a perfect genius, and Knuckles and Rouge discuss Rouge's plans for after getting off the Ark. Again, it's pretty improbable that a Sonic game will have a bad soundtrack, but this one kicks ass. It's easily one of Sonic's best OSTs, and that's a heavy list to pick from. The gameplay in Sonic Adventure 2 is what makes me come back to this game a whole lot more than I would have thought. Like Sonic Adventure, this game has each character playing differently, kinda. So we already know Sonic Adventure 2 is split up into Hero Story and Dark Story, but the funny thing is that each character in one story controls the same as another in the other story. Sonic and Shadow just have regular Sonic Adventure gameplay, but with added mechanics of not being able to spam spin dash, and the rolling feature was added to roll under tight spaces. Tails and Eggman stages have you controlling a big mech that locks on and shoots enemies while you head for the goal. The shots can be held down to release a bigger charge shot, and you can also move around while holding down the shoot button to lock onto multiple enemies to score more points and take enemies down easier. Knuckles and Rouge have the same gliding and digging routine as Sonic Adventure did, though for some reason the only way to start tracking the second or third emerald is to get the one before it, which is quite the downgrade in radar. I'm not sure why they did it, as I think it would have worked with these big busy stages. Like in the last game, there are certain things to collect to make stages easier, some required, some optional. Everyone controlled pretty great in this game, but something I noticed is that Tails/Eggman stages can go on for a bit longer than I'd like, and Knuckles and Rouge stages can be pretty confusing at some points, especially Mad Space. Along with the main gameplay, there's also kart racing, which you'll unlock after beating Route 280. It's more kart stages, except you race computers and try to get first. It's no Mario Kart, but it's pretty alright, all things considered. Besides that, you can check out a cool bonus video if you want, but it's just Sonic Adventure 2 gameplay while telling you it's Sonic's 10th anniversary. There's also a boss attack mode, which you can unlock after beating a hero or dark story. It's a boss rush where you can choose to fight either the hero or dark story bosses, or even all of them at once. There's also a dark Chow garden if you raise a dark Chow with a dark character or abuse a Chow with a hero character. And finally, after getting all 180 emblems in the game, spending countless hours playing the same goddamn stages over and over again, trying to get all the ranks, giving up on all hopes and dreams and saying goodbye to everyone you've ever held dear, you unlock the most recreated stage in all of Sonic, Green Hill Zone. By the way, there is no way I'm doing this in a million years, so don't ask why it's not in the video. So thanks for sticking around to hear me talk about Sonic Adventure 2, one of the best games in the Sonic franchise for the improvements it made over the original, the extra content, and the general fun times this game has given people. This is one of my favorite Sonic games, so I'm glad I got to talk about it. There was so much love poured into this game, and I'm so happy to return to it. But on that note, I think we're done here, so thanks for being here to listen to my crazed ramblings. If you guys enjoyed this sort of multiple games in one video thing, tell me in the comments and we'll see how well it goes. Enjoy the rest of the day, and remember to hit sub and like if you like this video, or just what I do in general. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!